Wake up YouTube, my name is Juice and welcome back to another episode of our tournament series. So this is another Monotype tournament. I'm running the same hard offense bug team that I ran in the last video. And so if you guys want to know what this tournament's all about and want to check out my Monotype team in action in the last episode, make sure you check that out. I'll throw it down in the description box down below and probably provide a link up here somewhere. And yeah, without further ado, let's hop right on in. My opponent, AV99, is leading with that nice Psychic team, is very well covered, and yeah, I got kind of lucky in this battle. A couple lucky breaks. Not gonna say that I would have necessarily lost without these lucky breaks, but they definitely helped me and helped me secure my victory that I would not have otherwise obtained as easily. So he leads with Victini, very strong fire lead, picking out my weakness, but he doesn't go for V-Query, he goes for U-Turn instead, which I assume is because I guess I was sashed and he didn't want to take any damage with Victini, which is a really tactical play on his part, seeing as how Victini checks like a good 5/6 of my team. So he goes into Bro here as I switch out not to Spinner. Good thing I did because that thing packed Surf, which is not conventional on a Latios set. And he switches out into Fetus, anticipating my rocks. And I forgot that defog was a thing on Mew. I mean, obviously it's a thing. It's like Mew's like one of the most potent defoggers in the game. I just escaped my mind and I was like, well, shit. So I switch into Genesect here. And predicting a U-turn, he goes into Dude. And I do a whopping 94%, which is really nice as I switch into Yanmega to make sure that I'm in a offensive position, that I have strong momentum. And he goes right into Victor Stone again, and I use Protect to make sure that I outspeed him this turn, because there's a really good likelihood that this thing is Choice Scarfed, and I went for Tailwind so that I can get my Heracross in for some late game sweeping. But he switches right now into Fetus, and that's a really good predict on his part. I really didn't know if he would make that move necessarily, because I could have just as easily gone for Pin Missile, but because he did, he wasted a turn of my Tailwind, and that leaves me to only have one turn left. So that was a really good play on his part. I should have predicted that. But he goes into Bay, sacrificing Bay. Bay's done, and goes into Latios here. And Latios goes for Psyshock, leaving me with 1 HP. And those of you who are familiar with the metagame might be complaining like, wow, that is some major hacks here. Normally Psyshock should be able to take out a Heracross. Heracross, at least a standard Smogon set, is 252 attack, 252 speed, just very fast physical sweeper. But Heracross I run is actually, if you guys haven't noticed already from my past videos, he's tremendously bulky. He's not your standard set. I ran a quick damage calc after the game just to see what probability Bro actually had of taking me out, and it turns out he had a approximately 35% chance of OHKOing me. So wouldn't call that hacks, but had he taken me out, I would have definitely been in a precarious situation, because I'd have to go into like Genesect or something. Would have been a lot more tactical for me. Would not have been an easy victory at all. Probably luck would factor in at that point. So luckily he doesn't kill me, and I finish him off with my Pin Missile. At this point, it's basically game Victini, seeing as I'm 99% sure that this thing is choiced. So he's locked into Bolt Strike as I go ahead and finish him off. He misses with this one, which doesn't really matter at this point, because Genesect will come back in anyways with that attack boost with Download. So Download plus Choice Band at 60%, he wasn't going to survive that, but this just assured my victory. Okay, so second battle of the tournament, my opponent's running Mono Ground. Again, a very diverse team he's running there. I go ahead and look at his team here, and I'm seeing that Gliscor is really the only thing that could potentially scare me, as I don't really have too many good checks against that. The rest of his team, though, I can deal with pretty well. Maybe Garchomp might also be a bit of a hazard, but all in all, his team didn't really scare me too much. I went ahead and led with Galvantula here to maybe get some early web game up, but he goes ahead and switches into Mamoswine. I fearing the Icicle Crash, I didn't really want to take too much damage. I go into not a Spinner while he gets his rocks up, which was good for him, but see, not a Spinner, which is of course a Rapid Spinner, Fortress here is actually quite the tactical Pokemon. He has the Red Card, which basically forces your opponent out whenever they attack, regardless of whether it's physical or special. So what that means is that when I'm using Fortress, I can almost guarantee rocks up on my opponent's side of the field while the rocks on my side of the field are off, because the moment my opponent touches me, they're forced out and I can go for Rapid Spin, as you see I do here. He gets his Toxic Orb up and he goes for Earthquake. I force him out with my red card and I go for Rapid Spin here, which luckily for me breaks that balloon on the Excadrill. So I thought this would be my Rapid Spin, so I went into Genesect, and turns out he went for Sandstorm, which I was like, okay, Sandstorm on Excadrill. I do not agree with that. If you really wanted Sandstorm, why not just run Hippowdon or something? But Excadrill with Sandstorm is really sketchy, because then you're wasting that one turn, and Excadrill is not exactly a bulky Pokemon. That said, he does get Sand Rush up now, and that is scary. I went for U-turn here, as you can see, instead of going for Blaze Kick, which is what I had intended to do before, because I expected him to be able to predict because if I'm going to go into Genesect on your Excadrill, clearly there's something that I can do that should be able to one-shot or like two-shot your Excadrill. So why would you stay in on that? I expected him to go out into Gliscor or something, which hard checks Genesect, but he decides to stay in, which tells me that either he's not a too high level of a player or he just straight up undercut my over prediction, which in any case I'm giving him credit for that, because as you'll see here, he takes out my Volcarona. I really didn't have much of a choice here. Didn't know whether he wanted to go for Earthquake or like a rock type attack. Not that Yanmega would be able to touch him anyway, so I had to go ahead and sacrifice Volcarona. I didn't see Volcarona doing too much work against his team. He could only really touch Diggersby and maybe Crocodile, so I didn't think that was too big of a deal. I went ahead and just sacked Volcarona so I can go back in Genesect, and this time I did not waste any time to go for a Blaze Kick, finish off that Excadrill. Do not want him around. He goes into Diggersby here, which I know that Earthquake is power, and there's a high likelihood this thing is Choice Banded. So that's why I was switching to Mega Yanmega, take the Earthquake, but in case he wasn't, I went ahead and went for Protect here to increase my speed here. He goes in Mammal, so I did not want to take an Icicle Crash or an Ice Stride from this thing, so I was switching to Genesect. He could have gone for Rocks right there. If I were him, I definitely would have gone for Rocks right there, because Rocks always puts Mono Bugs on an edge, so that would have been a better play than Ice Shard. I mean, there's really no reason that I would have stayed in with Mega Yanmega on Mamoswine, so that would have been a better move for him to do, but he goes ahead and fires off that Ice Shard, and here I know that Mamoswine can't really touch me right now, so go ahead and go for U-turn here instead of staying in and going for Blaze Kick. So he goes into Gliscor, takes a U-turn fairly well, as I go into Hug Me here and go for my surprise butt stick hidden power ice, which no one expects. It's great. Here I get my webs up. I figured that would help me out late game here. Heracross and getting some sweeps as he usually does with Sticky Web. And I switch on to Fortress here, thinking that maybe Galvantula could put in some more late game work later on. So I go into Genesect and go for that nice U-turn, which one-shots this guy. Choice Banded Genesect, guys. Choice Banded Genesect. So he goes into Diggersby here, which of course speed is lowered, and I get my nice Pin Missile off. Or I'm sorry, Bullet Seed. Which, given his Citrus Berry, would have still finished him off, even if I had not crit. Bullet Seed is just good like that. He goes into Mamoswine here, and I go for my nice Close Combat, finishing this guy off. And his last Pokemon is Garchomp, which, you know, poses a threat to my team, but I did save Galvantula just for this guy in case he decided to sweep my team with this thing. But it turns out Garchomp couldn't really do much anyways, and I finish him off with a Bullet Seed. So, third match of the tournament, I'm up against Monotype Water. This is feeling like quite the deja vu moment. If you don't know what I'm talking about, make sure you check out that last video that I posted, and you'll know exactly what I mean. But yeah, Monotype Water is a very fierce Monotype. I believe they sit comfortably at the top of the Monotype tier list. And he's running a very solid team too, so let's hop right on in here. I lead with Galvantula, typical Sticky Web lead, but I go for a T-Bolt here instead of Sticky Web, and here's my justification for that. Empoleon posed enough of a threat to my team that I wanted to get as much damage as I could off on this guy as soon as I could, so instead of going for the anticipated sticky web and then having him switch out after he does whatever he does, you know, set up his stealth rocks, I decided that I would catch him off guard with a T-Bolt, dealing a massive amount to him, and then going for sticky web on his switch, which he does go for here. And I didn't really think Rotom posed too much of a threat, so I stayed in and fired off another T-Bolt as he goes for Volt Switch here and goes into Swampert here, which is definitely the scenario I wanted. Now, him going into Swampert on Galvantula tells me what kind of player he is. I know these things like to pack Protect, but he's not under Rain, and Galvantulas generally pack Giga Drain. My particular set doesn't. He has HP Ice instead of Giga Drain, but Galvantulas generally pack Giga Drain, so him going into Swampert here is definitely a sketchy play. Not that it's a bad play, because, you know, that provides as a an immunity to my T-Bolt. But anyways, this is the matchup I wanted, as I go ahead and switch out into Fortress here, so that I can get the rocks off my side of the field. I know that I have red cards, so, and I'm Fortress. He's not going to one-shot me. So I wanted to force him out and get my nice rapid spin game off, and unfortunately for me, red card pulls out Empoleon, which is the only Pokemon on his team I did not want pulled out with a red card. But he pulls out Empoleon, and that means he can get rocks right back up. So I was like, well, shit. So anticipating his rocks, I go for my own rocks, but it turns out this thing packs Defog, so I was like, okay, I have nothing to do here. So I go ahead and Volt Switch out, and he goes for that Scald. I was like, oh my lord. One-shots my Galvantula there. I was expecting him to go for rocks, and to be honest, he really should have gone for rocks there. Rocks just puts so much pressure on Monobug, so much pressure. Definitely should have gone for rocks over Scald, but he goes for Scald instead, which that's still a fine move on his side. You know, he took out my Galvantula. That definitely posed enough of a threat to his team that he should want it dead. So that's good for him. I go ahead and go into Fab here, and that provides a lot of offensive pressure. He doesn't have an adequate switch in to Super Fab. You just don't. As a Monotype Water, if you're going to switch in on Super Fab, you better pray to your lords that I get a low roll, because Bullet Seed and Pin Missile, a combination of the two, can basically just destroy Monotype Water. So I go ahead and fire off my another Bullet Seed here. He goes into Empoleon. That's definitely a sketchy play there. He does not outspeed. I guess that's what he was going for. You know, for that burn Scald. But he goes into Politoed here, gets that Rain up as I finish him off with my Bullet Seed. That's a dead Politoed, and he goes into Arthur the Kingdra. So Arthur the Kingdra definitely posed the greatest threat to my team here. And because Hydro Pump under the Rain might be able to one-shot Heracross. I'm not sure about that. I could run a damage calculator, but as bulky as I am, Hydro Pump from this thing under Rain is just so powerful. But unfortunately for him, it turns out he's running a physical set, which I really don't agree with. I go into not a spin of the Fortress here just to sacrifice him to a Hydro Pump so I can come in with maybe Yanmega or something. I wasn't too sure exactly what I wanted to do from there, but turns out he was a physical set, which, you know, I can see he runs 4 other special attackers, so he doesn't want Swampert being his only physical sweeper, but Kingdra's special move pool is just so beautiful and so overpowered that I would not in any condition run a physical Kingdra over a special Kingdra. But he does run a physical set, and he goes for Waterfall here, which I actually take fairly well, and I waste a couple turns of Rain here. So that's good for me. I go to Genesect here, and unsure of whether or not I could actually take a Waterfall. I was actually also unsure of whether or not this thing only had physical attacks. He might have had Waterfall just to catch special walls off guard. So I went ahead and went for Extreme Speed here instead of U-Turn, thinking that he might be able to one-shot me. But I don't finish him off with Extreme Speed, but Waterfall does do a good amount to me. So that's nice, but at +1 plus Choice Band, Genesect is a monster. He goes into Swampert and it goes for Rain Dance, which at this point, I can see how you want to have the speed edge over me, but I would have just finished out Genesect. He goes into Yudoda to Basura, helps your trash. The Ludicolo there, and dies to his own life orb. So that's game. Good game, Pie Man. Good game. Monotype Water, as usual, is just fearsome. But he could have played a bit tighter. So that was third match. So fourth match of the tournament, I'm up against Rusty McDusty. This is the quarterfinals. Rusty McDusty kind of reminds me of that Pokemon Rusty series that Dorkley did. It's pretty funny shit. Okay, so he's running Mono Dragons, and I was talking shit about Monotype Dragons in the last video, saying that they've really decreased in potency since last gen, and I still maintained that theory, but this guy ran a very solid Monotype Dragon team. He had some interesting sets here and there. Hunter told me, Hunter, by the way, was observing most of these matches, and he told me afterwards that he saw this guy run Reflect type on Latios, which I thought was kind of funny. But anyways, this is, again, a very solid Monotype Dragon team. I went ahead and reasoned that Galvantula wasn't going to be doing much work with Sticky Web, mainly because he had a couple flyings and some levitators. Basically, only two of his Pokemon right in the middle there would have been affected by Sticky Web. So I decided to lead instead with Fortress to get my rocks up. Turns out I really should, in hindsight, I really should have led with Galvantula and gone for Hidden Power Ice, because Garchomp proved to be a huge threat to my team, and I would have liked to get a lot of early game damage on him. But unfortunately, that was not the case. I lose my rocks on his side, and all I really managed to do was dish out some damage on Latias. So that was a shame. I went ahead and finished this thing off with Extreme Speed, since he didn't really want to switch in on that, and he goes into Hydreigon, which is scary. Hydreigon poses the biggest threat to my team right now, because Fire Blast just does a load to almost anything. But he was scared of my Bug Buzz, so instead I went for Quiver Dance, and went for Fury Dance here. I could have gone for... I didn't go for Bug Buzz because I didn't have Bug Buzz, but just the thought of having Bug Buzz is usually enough to psych my opponents out, so that's good enough for me. I just really wanted to run Hidden Power Ground and Giga Drain, so that's that. I go ahead and stall out Altaria here with Mega Yan Mega, go for my nice Protect game on his return, and he dies to Burn. So that's all good. He goes into Kyurem Black here as I fire off my Tailwind, and I survive this Dragon Claw. A clutch 6 HP there. And I go right out in Genesect and fire off my nice Iron Hit. So that's a dead Kyurem Black. It makes a pivotal switch here into Garchomp, which, again, I really wish I had been able to deal more damage on this guy beforehand, because he put me in such a bad position. I had to go into Mega Yan Mega right here when he went into Garchomp, because I knew he was going to go for rocks, and had I not gone to Mega Yan Mega, I would have been barred out. So to prevent from being barred out, I went in and went for a last-ditch Tailwind effort, and he goes for Dragon Tail and finishes me off. But unfortunately, at this point, there's not much I can do, because Garchomp again just stalls my team pretty hard. I go for my surprise Butt Sex Hidden Power Ice, but that's not enough, clearly. And Genesect comes here, finishes off with U-turn, which was not the right play. I should have gone for Extreme Speed. I recognize that in hindsight. That said, though, I'm unsure that Extreme Speed would have taken down Salamence anyways, even at +1. And so basically, it would have been a really close match, but the Hax Lord decided to shove one up me, and I missed my Rock Blast. So that was a pivotal miss. I would have taken out Salamence, he would have gotten to Hydreigon, and would have gone for Fire Blast, which had a good chance of missing, and then I would have had to go into Galvantula, which might have... Bug Buzz might have one-shot... I doubt Bug Buzz would have one-shot Hydreigon, but it would have been a much closer match than how it turned out to be here. But I missed my rocks, and unfortunately that is a game, because Galvantula is not capable of taking out Salamence. Came pretty close though with that HP Ice. So, anyways, yeah, Genesect comes in and dies to rocks. So, that's game. Close match. Really wish I had hit my rocks there, but don't think that would have mattered too much. Yeah, Rusty played very well. Played very tight. I feel like I could have played better right in the beginning there, but from that point on, it was hard to say. He always had kind of an edge over me. As long as his Garchomp was there, I couldn't really sweep with Heracross. I always had to play a bit more conservatively, and he won right at the end there. So was a pretty good game. And yeah, that's really it for this episode. Remember that if you enjoyed these videos, to like, comment, subscribe, and make sure that you follow our Twitter now, because we do have that. That's the thing, is at Pokeflute YT. We will start tweeting a lot more frequently than we are tweeting now. And yeah, make sure you stay tuned for Hunter's Show. I think that's going to come out within the next couple of days. Just stay tuned for that. And yeah, see you guys later. Peace out.